we have all given them credit for being very loyal, for caring as much about people as about results, and for, loving not only their sport, but also what their sport represents, which is, equality and inclusion, all these other things. Well, let's see what their attitude is when they have a non-championship team to cheer for. Right.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting inflection point, as we say in my industry, a little overused cliche there, but I think it is. I mean, for that team, but also I will be not disappointed, but I guess maybe surprised if that fan base doesn't give them a little bit of room.
Yeah, I would think that they had earned it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the other thing, is that there isn't always a direct correlation between fan frustration and attendance. I mean, Wild fans, I think, are incredibly frustrated, and they're still selling out the joint.
Still crazy loyal. Yeah. Well, Jim, thanks for coming on. This is it's always good to get your perspective, but I also appreciate the opportunity to continue to talk about stuff like this. And 100 episodes worth has been a lot of fun, and so thanks for the opportunity and the platform as well.
That was a blast. Thanks for having me on, Nick. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you doing the show.
Okay, so for the second half of the show, I've got Tony Hoaglund back. Tony, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Not much, my man. How are things in Buffalo?
I don't know about Buffalo, but in Rochester, things are fine.
Close enough.
They opened up a new Labatt Brewery. Opened up a new concept restaurant in Buffalo on the other side of the hockey rink there. From there's like a couple new hotels and a couple other new restaurants. They've actually done a pretty nice job of redoing and firing up that sort of arena district down in Buffalo. The who's the guy? He did the Penn State arena too. That whatever rich guy that is, Pegula, whatever. They put a lot of money in, which is nice. I mean, that's they own the Bills and the Amerks, and obviously has a soft spot for Penn State as well. But they have certainly put their money where their mouth is, which is nice to see. So that's my Buffalo report. That was fun. All right, so Tony, we haven't talked in a while. What'd you think of the Super Bowl, bud?
I was a big fan. It's the first time that the Patriots have been in it where I was rooting for them. And it wasn't because I don't like LA. It's just I've got a bad reason for it too. Is basically I've got a bunch of buddies that think Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback ever. Legitimately think that. And I just wanted to see Brady get another ring to put more distance between him and the rest of the field. So I rooted for Brady in this one. But
how can you honestly think that anybody's a better all-time quarterback than Brady at this point?
It's stupid. They think it's because of Bill Belichick. So then I tell them, well, Bart Starr must suck then too, because it was all because of Lombardi, right? And that doesn't apply then, obviously, when you're a Packer fan and you got green and gold glasses on. But
but also Belichick wasn't Belichick before Brady got on the scene.
Correct. He got fired by the Browns, didn't he?
And he was his first 1 or 2 seasons in New England, I think. I mean, look, I'm not dumping on Belichick, trust me, but I think it's the dynamic of the both of them.
Right. And I don't want to dump on Belichick either, because I think that it could have been the greatest coaching performance that any of us have ever seen. I mean, you hold the wonder kid offensive mind. The Rams, who've just been blowing people out of the water all year, and Belichick just shuts them down. Like, it had to be one of the best coaching jobs that we've ever seen. Now, it didn't make for a very entertaining Super Bowl, but but it got him another ring, which is all he really cares about.
Exactly, and that's all that Bob Kraft cares about too. So, and if the Rams had won 13-3, they wouldn't have minded either. So
no, not at all. The Vikings could win 2-0. They could get a safety and win it, and I would be
ecstatic
running through the streets of Elk River naked, probably. So
that's true.
I mean, Minnesota fans can gripe all they want about how boring it was, but I don't care. Like, if you win the Super Bowl, you win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and yes, exactly. And also, I've gotten to the point where if you don't have to like the Patriots, I'm certainly not a Patriots fan, but Mike, by God, you gotta appreciate what. Okay, so they're cheaters and they do it in Edelman, whatever for suspension and Deflategate and all this stuff. But you know what? If you're not cheating, you're not trying, and I don't look. I don't have a problem with any of that. They still got to go out there and perform. So,
and I think we exchanged some tweets about this, but 32 teams, free agency.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules are set up for parity, right?
Right.
And to do what they've done, 9 Super Bowl appearances in the last 16 years?
Yeah, it's insanity.
And how many? They've lost a couple AFC championships in that run too, right?
Right. Yeah.
So call it 11 or 12 title game appearances.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't like the Patriots, but I admit that my angst about them is pure jealousy.
Correct. It's the only way that it can be at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I just asked Jim this, but you remember my whole thing about the Twins, Wild, Wolves, and Vikes all made the playoffs their prior season to this one, and then so far the Twins and Vikings have missed the playoffs. I think it's safe to say the Wolves are going to miss the playoffs, and there's a pretty good chance at this point that the Wild misses the playoffs as well. So my question to Jim was, given all of that, looking ahead to each of these teams' next seasons, which of them is in the best shape? What do you think?
Wow, it's a deep question.
You want to know what he said, or do you want to be pure when you answer it?
I'll be pure when I answer it. I would say the Vikes or the Twins would be my thought. But the Twins have been right there for however long, and you don't know with Buxton to know. I think the Vikings probably have the best roster to pull that off, but I mean, they're still the Vikings. Like, they still rip your heart out every year. So
yeah, no, that's what he said. He said the Vikings. He said they've got the most good players, as a percentage of the total roster, and say what you want about Zimmer, and I want to say plenty about Zimmer, but his point was he's still a hell of a defensive coach. He just needs to sort of get back to what made him that. So,
one thing I'm interested with the Vikes, and maybe your take on it, the whole Kubiak thing, like the Stefanski-Kubiak thing.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of undermining Stefanski a little bit, but it also kind of maybe gets me a little more excited about the season because I don't mind the Kubiak hire. They just hired his offensive line coach from Denver too, right. I think. So I'm a little more optimistic about the offensive side of the ball. So I'd wonder kind of what your thoughts are on it, and if Jim talked about it at all.
Well, we didn't get into it, but it is kind of applying the Case Keenum tag, to coin a phrase, to Stefanski a little bit. I mean, Keenum, who never got really any love from Zimmer, despite how he was performing that season 2 seasons ago, until it mattered. But it is kind of. I mean, I agree. It does feel like not a vote of no confidence, but or any kind of a referendum per se, but just hey, you are the rookie, and you need this mensch to help you along.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely, his leash is pretty short.
Yeah.
When you see that hire, it's a kind of a North Turner situation all over again. But
yep.
Yeah.
Which obviously didn't work out so great for us with Norv, but you can't argue with how the Vikings, the two seasons ago, the regular season was a pretty damn good season.
Right. And I guess my hope is that it just keeps Zimmer out of the offensive room.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear him talk about running the ball more, and I don't need to hear all that stuff. I want him focusing on running the team and defense.
Yep. Yeah, I hear that. How far back into the Wolves did you get this season before I assume it's either plateaued or pulled back the other direction at this point?
Well, I got farther back in when Saunders became coach.
Right.
Just because it's the whole, when the Wolves were really good in my time, his dad was running it. He played high school basketball in Minnesota around the time when I was in college. So I had just gotten done playing high school ball. And so you kind of knew him a little bit, and you've seen him playing out, so there's that hometown kid thing. So I got excited about it then. Since then, I've been pretty busy, and I haven't had a chance to like pay too much attention to him. I've been paying more attention to the Wild, but I mean, I want to see him get a shot. It's just I'm not sure that the roster is one that he deserves a shot with. Like someone's doing him a disservice, right? Like if he's going to get a shot with this roster and then get canned because they stink, like I almost don't want him to get the shot. Then like I'd rather he wait until they have a decent roster, but. Because I want the kid to succeed, but they're just frustrating. It's them and the Wild are in the same boat with me. Like I get so damn frustrated because they bring you back in because they play really good against, like the Wolves seem to always play really good against Oklahoma City, right? Like play great against Oklahoma City. They bring you back in, you get excited about it, and then they just lay 3 duds. And then I watch the Wild and they play really good against a good team. And then they lay a dud. And it's like, my God.
Yeah.
Well, when's it going to end,
Well, so where, on the Wild topic, where are you on the do as much of a rebuild as possible versus try to trade for a couple of things maybe that short up so that we can try and sneak in and go on a run this year?
I don't see the point in going on a run this year. I mean, I'm obviously season ticket holder. I just don't see the Wild doing that though. Like any email we get from the Wild, any survey we get from the Wild, it's like they ask, do you think that how much does winning matter? And would you want us to win in the future or now? Like those are questions on the survey, right? And it's tough because like I want to see him win a cup. Like I don't, if it's 2 or 3 years away, I don't care. I want to be in the X for a playoff game that means something that I think they have a chance to go past the next round, right? And I don't see that being the case right now. So I'm kind of I would trade Granlund and Zucker if they get a good deal for him. I'd trade Stahl. I'd trade Stahl mainly because I think you could maybe get some picks for him, and then you can just re-sign him if you like him. But I'm just not sure that what they have with Granlund and Zucker. I don't think they have leaders.
I think Zucker. I'm less convinced that we should trade. That I would like to see them trade Zucker than I am about Granlund at this point. Assuming that Granlund's going to ask for $9 or plus million per. Clearly. Well, you have to think his season this year, his production this year, is costing him some money in his next deal. So, but I don't know if it's going to cost him enough to make him a value at what I think he is at this point. Versus, if you can find the GM who thinks he's the key and is willing to trade for him and give up assets, befitting him being the key for that team. You might be able to get enough back for him to make it an easy decision. But
what do you think they like? So what I'd ask you this then: what contract would you like to see him on, and then what would you want back from him? What do you think a fair?
I mean, he's at 6-ish now, right? So I think, he's obviously going to get a raise, but maybe
7.5.
Yeah, or 8 even. He's got to get paid, right? And so you're not going to bring him back for much less than that, if at all. So do you say we'll do 7.5, but for maybe an extra year or two to make it even money wise, but keep the cap hit lower? I don't know. But I also don't know that I don't know that I think that he's going to become a point a game guy,
right?
Obviously not going to become a 100-point guy, but I'd take a point a game. I just don't know that he's that guy. And now maybe if we had some finishers, he could, but that's a couple years away anyway. And that's assuming that Fenton is able to find those guys. And
well,
it's not just Kaprizov.
I was going to say, do you think if you put Kaprizov next to him, is he a 30-goal, 50-assist guy?
Well, yeah, maybe, or a 20-60 guy if Kaprizov is the finisher that we think and hope he is.
Yeah,
that's possible.
That's the high end, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So what? Now I don't know, but I gotta believe that point of game guys in the NHL right now are making pretty close to the top dollar. So is that $8 million? So the other half of your question is, what can you get for him? Well, I mean,